Alright, we'll be continuing on with modeling a hand for our character. Hands are one of those things that are super intimidating for people, usually. And rightly so. I mean, they're quite detailed. The shape's pretty hard to get right. But like anything else, you just stick with it, give it a try, delete it if it sucks, and keep going, and you'll get something that you're happy with. So let's start off. We're going to model our hand right from our arm so we don't have to attach it later on. So one of the best things you can do with modeling a hand, and really anything else, is just take a look at it on yourself. Really understand the shapes that it's made out of, the form that it takes when it's in a relaxed pose, and just kind of understand what you're making. And it should go a lot easier. So the first thing we'll take a look at, we made our arms nice and round and smooth for kind of shapes wise, but if you look at your wrists aren't a perfect circle. They're pretty, they're like a flattened circle. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is we're just going to get the shape of our wrist correct with what we have here so far. So I'm going to just kind of squish a lot of what I have going on here into more of a shape of my wrist. So something like that. You take a look at this here, that shape there. That's a lot better. It's a little bit more squished, kind of round still, right? Might kind of still polish that up a little bit there. All right, so something like that. That's pretty good. So what I want you to do, since we deleted the faces in here, if you haven't done so, I would recommend doing that. So right now, the nice thing is our third tool under selection is called border, and border will select any open edge. And on things like this, it works really nicely. The center of the body, it'll select that opening too. You'll see, you kind of get to see how it works. But the nice thing about this is it lets us actually model with this as well. So once you have a border selected, or an edge, or anything really, you can extrude edges from this just by holding Shift and dragging. So we're going to make our first drag out like that. So I just held Shift, I moved out, and it made new polygons. And that's a really good, good start for what we want to do. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the basic shape of our arm in. So if I unhide my model here, I'm just going to basically make this to the knuckles. So actually, I might just squish it one way on just one axis here. My knuckles will probably be somewhere around here. My hands are a little stubby. Kind of on an angle, but something like that. Might even readjust some of these things here. Now I am wearing, like, my character has armor over top of his fingers, so he's going to be a little bit heftier than what I had before. So I'm just going to adjust that and make sure it kind of fits my character. All right, there we go. So that's kind of generally what I want from my hand here. So I'm going to go back. I'm just going to hit this light bulb down here called Isolate Selection Toggle. We'll just hide everything else but this model. So this is, that's your first kind of shape there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to extrude some fingers out from this character here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this border, and I'm going to hit Cap. And that's just going to add a polygon right over top of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the edges here. Alright, so my character only, I'm probably going to only do maybe 3 fingers. I don't know if I did like a full, I didn't really do anything specific for my character there. I might only do 3 just because it'll be easier for me to do something a little bit cartoony, and I'll have more space. And my guy's an ogre. I don't really want him to have dainty, little hands. I want him to have big burly hands and less fingers, because he's not really human. Right, so so you see here I have these 4 faces right now. I have 1, 2, 3, or sorry, 3 faces, not 4. Those are basically going to be my fingers. So I'm going to just move these edges along so they're all the same size-ish, more or less. So something like that. And then from there, I'm just going to extrude each finger. So I'm going to select my face. I'm going to hit the extrude button here, and I'm just going to drag that out. I can do that for all three, or we could work on one finger at a time. I'll just work on one just to show you guys what it's like. Now, one of the most important things, a lot of people like to model their hands like straight out as if they're tense. I like to model my hands out. I'll show you this picture that I found here. Something like this. They're in like a relaxed pose. All the fingers are just kind of slightly bent. If you just hold your hand out and just kind of let it rest, this is generally the shape that it takes. You know, your hands aren't out perfectly straight. They're not out like this. Usually that's not like a relaxed pose, or like this, which a lot of people like to model sometimes. I like to model them in this relaxed kind of pose because when you're posing and animating your character, most of the time you want him to be kind of doing nothing with his hands, just walking around doing stuff. And this is just the pose he'll be in. You won't have to repose him. It'll look natural. It'll look good. So that's kind of how I'm going to structure my hand. So because this is my right hand, my thumb is going to be coming out of this polygon somewhere over here. So this finger is going to be my index finger. It's going to be the second longest one on my hand. So we're just going to kind of move him around, kind of get him into a general shape. Right, and I'm going to add 2 cuts here. Oops. Right, for my joints. Just rotate them a little bit. Now you see because I was rotating on a weird axis, they're a little funky, so you're just going to go through and adjust them and make sure they're looking how I want them to look. So rotation can sometimes get you into trouble, so you got to just rely on good old move. Now it gets a little hard when you're working up close with the body, because sometimes I can go through and select a bunch of things and I think I'm moving just my finger, but I'm actually moving my leg as well, so be wary of that. You know, make sure you don't screw up your model by thinking you're working on one thing when you're actually affecting other things in general. Alright, so got my finger here. Alright, let's get like a decent shape going for my finger too. There we go. So that's pretty good. We got our index finger. Might be a little long. Well, we could always adjust, you know, how big our hands are. If I want to give them bigger hands, I might do that. This finger does seem a little long right now. If we go to our front viewport and take a look, it seems pretty huge compared to his hands. He's kind of looking like a sloth right now. So I might go through and just fix that up a little. I don't mind him having bigger hands than the concept, just because, again, he is an ogre or a goblin or whatever the heck he is, and I kind of based him off a real dude, which is not as interesting, so I'm just going to go through and adjust that. Now the thing with hands is you know, you could draw a ton of front and side views of hands, and in the end you're really just going to have to trust yourself to make them look how you want them to look, because this is one of those, it's a good exercise for the thing I've been talking about a lot, which is look at your model from every possible angle, and you know, it's never as true as it's been when you're working with the hands, because they're such a crazy shape. You really need to understand them from every angle. So just go through and let's do that to all the fingers here. So my second finger, if you take a look at your hand, is a little longer than my first one, so my knuckles will be or my joints and stuff will be a little bit longer as well. There you go. So these fingers are a little too close together. I might have to separate them out a little bit, just for rigging and ease of modeling purposes. So I might just kind of just do something like that, because they're kind of going straight down. I want them coming out a little bit. And this will be my pinky, so he'll be small. Right, but he'll also be a little bit more bent than the other fingers. Don't be afraid to use scale and rotate and all the tools you have available to manipulate your fingers and get them looking like the shapes that you want. There we go. It's looking all right. Maybe a little funky. We'll see once we start adding some detail. We'll actually be able to shape this out a little bit better and get it looking how we want it to look. So, all right. So we have that. Let's add a thumb now. So our thumb is gonna come out of here. So I'm just gonna add an edge right through my whole palm here. My palm's looking a little short, so I'm gonna just extend it a little. Might be because my forearms are really big. I guess the gauntlets probably kind of work into the palms a little. So I might just adjust my arm. Alright. There we are. Those are a little straight on. Might kind of curve them a little. Alright, so our thumb is going to basically come out of somewhere here, so we're going to need to make a little square for him. Just going to add another edge. And just kind of play around with that, get some nice shapes going. Some of these shapes and things will probably change once we get into Mudbox, which is fine. We're just kind of looking for the main structure and polyflow and stuff like that at this point. So as long as that's looking nice, the rest of it will just work too. Alright, so we're going to just take this guy here. I'm going to scale him up a little bit because our thumb's going to be a little bigger. Angle him down a little. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to extrude a thumb. Alright, so our thumb kind of comes into the hand like this. It's not going to go straight out, so remember that. So I don't really like where this thumb went when I extruded it, so I'm just going to go through and just manipulate it a little bit. Can really mess things up, but that's okay. You're just going to have to kind of understand where it's going to go eventually. So he's a little too close to our fingers right now. So I'm going to lower these fingers down a little. Again, remember, the hands are just going to take some time to finagle and look how you want them to look. They're looking okay. They're a little curved down, I guess, but I might just curve up the whole hand here. There we go. It's a little better. All right, so let's take a look. These are very boxy, basic kind of hands right now, which is good at this point. We didn't want to add too much detail like everything else. You'll get carried away really quick. Looking a little thin on this side, so let's just bring out some of these shapes here to kind of form that knuckle-ish area. All right, let's just get a bit of the shape that we want out of these hands. All right, so we have some nice, boxy looking fingers, but we're going to need some extra detail. So we're going to add an edge right along the side here. Now if I select one of these edges and I hit ring, it's going to select basically my whole body here, and we got some crazy looking loops going on in here, which is not good. Where's that guy going? He's going across, and then this one is going... Oh, I see. He's not actually connecting to the outside of the hand. Oops. That's okay. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to just want to add edges right along these here. So select all the edges that you want to connect. There we go, something like that. You can go one higher and around the thumb as well. And it's going to hit connect. This guy here, connect, I have him on a shortcut, remember? So we're just going to add that in between, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take these top faces, we're just going to shrink them down a little. We're going to push and pull them in to get the shape that we want out of these fingers, because they're still boxes. So I'm going to put on my edge constraint, and I'm just going to push these guys in, verts or edges, whatever you can use. There we go. So we're going to do that for all our fingers on both sides, front and back. And even out here, just want to round that out a little bit. And make sure you're moving the right verts, because you get yourself into some trouble if you don't. we go. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So you could do that. I'll show you another way you could do that. If you select your edges, you can select one edge at a time and just scale them. Oh, turn constraints off because it might freak out on you. And just scale the edges down a little. That'll nicely push and pull. And turn your constraints back on here. And do the same thing for these guys. Alright, there we go. We got some nice looking hands there. All nice quads too, which is great. Does not happen all the time. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add some edges here, just closer to the knuckles, just to define some of these shapes here. Just going to bring that in a little. That way we'll have some room to play around with. There we go. We can scale some of these guys down too. Oops. Perfect. Push those up. That's pretty good. We got some nice quads going on. Got some decent looking fingers so far. It's pretty good. Alright, so we have that. We have quads and quads and quads everywhere. And what I might do as well is I might just move these guys because they're just flat right now. I'm going to shape the fingers a little bit so they look a little bit like actual fingers. So I'm just going to push those down a little like that. That one's pretty good. There we go. Alright, gonna turn my constraints off, can save. I'm gonna just add another edge in here. And just start forming out that hand. Just, you know, take a look at your own hand and try and match what you're doing. Alright, get that shape of the hands and fingers that you want for the type of character you're making. Obviously, if it's a feminine character, you're going to want some skinnier fingers. Or if like they're anime or something like that, if they're bigger, you're going to want thicker, you know, Brick Lane type fingers. Really think about who your character is. You know, what kind of items are they using? Are they picking up, you know, are they just throwing knives? Maybe they have some more delicate hands, like a spy in TF2. Or are they, you know, picking up really heavy weapons and bricks or guns or whatever? Are they wearing armor? You know, they're going to have big arms. So really think about who you're making. And each of these decisions that you make with just a shape and proportion really make that character come alive and all that. So, alright, so we have decent fingers there. We're going to have to refine the thumb a little bit too, because he's just kind of just in there. We have this like really sharp inset right now because it's just how we've been modeling, and that's not how a thumb is. A thumb has a nice, oh, that looks terrible. A thumb has very, there's a lot of skin going between here and here, so we're going to have to kind of flush that out a little bit, make it look like it's supposed to. There it goes, looking a little better. Alright, remember, look at your character from every single direction. Make sure all the decisions you're making actually make your character look better. Don't add verts if you don't need them. if you do add them, make sure it's changing how your character looks. Alright, so we got some quads and all that. Let's take a look at what we can do here to give our thumb a little bit more detail. We might want to add another edge in here just to help us form out some of these shapes. Thumbs are big and bulky, so I'm going to give my guy a pretty big thumb here. Now my guy does have gauntlets on, so there's going to be you know, it's going to kind of merge in with my hand here, or with my forearm. That's okay. I'm just going to do this for now, just to kind of you know, show the wireframe and all that. So it's an okay hand. It's not overly relaxed, like we were talking about. I might still push and pull some of this stuff to look a little bit more natural. Right, he's looking a little tense and I don't know, just not very good. So all right, that's okay. Do a little bit more here. Make these fingers a little thicker. Alright, so let's see what we got going on. We got our thumb looking like this. So if you're ever working on your hand or any body part and you're like, ah, it's just everything's just getting in the way, you can select your hand. Sometimes what I like to do, you can just select this guy here, just select, yeah, like up to there. You can go in here and go hide unselected. Now that's cool, you won't be getting in the way, but the crappy thing is sometimes your body does, I guess it should be okay with now. Sometimes your mesh still kind of shows through, but at least this way, you know, it's alright. And won't get in your way. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have our hand. Now our thumb's looking really square. Our thumb's pretty thick. He should have a little bit more detail. So I'm going to give him a ring right through the center like this. And that'll help me kind of form him up a little bit better. Right, so I'm going to go through and adjust all those verts and edges that I just added. Right, really take into consideration my edge flow and making sure everything's nice and smooth. Right, remember those shapes are looking good, all that kind of stuff. So alright, so we got that going through there. Let's alright. All right, so we start having, actually I haven't finished this part yet. Let me just round them out before I get too ahead of myself. Alright, my mesh is getting pretty messy over here, so I'm going to make sure it's cleaned up. Alright, it's looking a little better. Still not super clean, but we'll move on from here. Alright, so let's take a look at some of the things that are happening here. So we added some edges, and we have this guy here, which is made a five-sided poly, which is not very good. So we're going to connect this guy right into the wrist. Now I know it's going to create another triangle, but that's okay for now. We're going to adjust that in a second. So I'm just going to clean this up here. So we'll have this nicely going up in there, and then we'll have we want this to nicely wrap around either the arm or go in through here somewhere. So let's see what we can do. So now we have this nice loop going around through here. If we go ring, right? So maybe we'll want to ring this across as well. So just down here, or just bring this through there. So we'll have to think of some interesting ways to make this work. And let's think about where the other guy is going. So we have another five-sided polygon right here. So ideally what we want to do is we basically want to just connect those two together, and that way they'll meet and make some nice quads. So let's see what we can do. Let's just adjust this. Okay. Okay. Ooh. Gotta be careful where you cut and make edges, because sometimes 3D Max likes to just add a whole bunch of vertices and really screw up your model. It really does enjoy doing things like that, so you gotta really be careful. Bring up these guys here because our wrist kind of curves upwards like that. Alright, we're going to make the pad here for bottom of our palm. Alright, so the other thing you're going to have here is you're going to have your thumb muscle. Your thumb actually has like a big muscle over here, so you got to kind of think about how you want to structure this thing and where it's going to flow. So let's think about where this should all go here. So we can add some flow in here. Let's maybe connect some of these together. Sometimes it just takes some trial and error to kind of figure out what you want with some of these guys, especially when you have to get some quads out of some funky triangles. Alright, so this loop going around this finger here will get us like a nice nice pad over here, because then we can just push these guys in. There we go. And then we can probably, so we want this guy to kind of connect as he's connecting right now. I could probably do something like that. Go. We can move that more to the center to kind of get ourselves some padding in here, and that way we could use these edges to make ourselves a thumb muscle. There we go. Let's move that down there. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. It's a little funky, but and then let's try and let's see. We got this guy going here. We could probably just connect him through there. I don't really like that. Let's try something else. I guess that's okay. Because it does kind of, it is supposed to go back down again. I don't really like these crazy triangle or quads we have going in here. It's a little messy. I would prefer if this guy went up through here. Oops. Alright, that's alright. We got like some muscle definition. We have enough verts here to kind of collapse that back in. And we can make this a little thinner as well. Alright, that should be pretty good. Let's take a look at how that looks. That's not bad. It's a little cartoony. bulbousy, but we'll fix that up in Mudbox. But overall, I think the proportions are fine. Pinky seems a little thin, so maybe I'll thicken him up a little bit. Again, stuff we could also do in Mudbox, which we will definitely address. Right, maybe push up the knuckles a little bit too. Oh. Alright, there we go. So, not the greatest hands ever, but I'm pretty happy with them for going into Mudbox. So it's I have some funky stuff going on my chest. If you ever get that, it's usually a symmetry problem. It's usually just your lines aren't far in enough to symmetry properly. So you can just move your center verts in and you should be good to go. There we go. He's got his arms are a little thin. We can also adjust that. Alright, taking a look now for how big my character is and strong he should be looking. His muscles are a little flat, so I might just adjust a little bit of that. There we go. Give him some proper Popeye looking forearms as well. There we go. And then just exaggerate those a little bit. There we go, it's a little better. His arms are looking a little stiff. They're very like straight across, which I shouldn't have done. So I might actually just go through and I can just select all of this at the joint here. And I'm just going to rotate it forward a little bit. A little bit more relaxed, right? Because I don't want my arms just being right straight out. It'll look weird when I'm trying to make my muscles and actually pose out my character and stuff like that. So there you go, that's a little better. His feet look really huge right now, but that's just because I kind of modeled it for the shorts. So let's kind of take a look. Yeah, my feet are okay too. They're just kind of round and stuff, but that's alright. I think at this point that is perfectly fine. So my arms, doesn't exactly match the concept and stuff like that, and I think that's totally fine because we're going to be doing quite a lot of changes to him in Mudbox, and at this point I don't really care if he's not perfectly exactly like my concept, because the concept's just a general kind of guideline of proportions and shapes and ideas and things like that. So if your dude's not exactly the same, I wouldn't worry about it. And if you do want it to be a little bit more like the concept, just do this. Just go through and adjust them before you're ready to call it quits on them. There we go. Alright, there we are. So I'm pretty happy with him. Next we'll adjust the, we'll attach the head basically back to the body. So I'm going to just take this Turbo Smooth off the head and the body. Going to unhide everything else but these two guys, and we will adjust this to make it so. I'm going to remove the symmetry as well, because I'm going to rely on the body to do that symmetry. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to take off that that for now. And basically what my goal is going to be is to adjust nope, that's not the, oh, I think he has got a material. I'm just going to throw this green on my body here just so he matches my tones. Change the wireframe to like a black so he's easier to see. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to line up my neck or my body with my head. So whichever one I feel like adjusting, I'm going to do so to kind of fit what I need it to be like. So I'm going to try and adjust as best as I can, vert to vert, so they kind of line up. You know, and it's probably going to be adjusting both of them here and there, which is fine. So this is the nice thing about keeping things low poly, is that I don't have to add a whole ton of detail to my body here to make my head work. Really all I have is, let's take a look here. I have basically this edge that doesn't match up because there's no polys there, and one in the middle, and that is not bad. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click attach and attach my head, and I'm going to use my collapse button here to just merge these guys together. It's going to find a nice happy medium between the two spaces and just collapse them like that. Now I have to decide what I want to do with these extra edges. Do I want to remove them from my head, or do I want to add them to my body? That's kind of going to be, you know, your call, and how you're going to kind of deal with your dude. Hopefully you had enough edges to kind of you know, match those things, and if you didn't, that's okay too. We could always go through and add some things. So the nice thing about what I've kind of luckily happened with my body here is that because I have one edge missing in the front and one edge missing, you know, more or less in the back, I could just ring my model here and it'll go right through the crotch, and I could just add an extra edge there and just start pushing and pulling these things apart just to space out my model. Right, just like that, and just start working them through and just getting some details in there. You know, make sure that's nice and clean. Spread out your details a little bit like that. Go. And that way I can take these two and collapse them. Oops, I think I collapsed a few too many things. There we go. And same thing here. Oh crap, I made a big mistake. When I hit ring, it ringed right through my face, right to my upper lip, and that is too far. I don't want it to go that far. So I'm going to undo a little bit of this. Or actually, wrong way. Going to, actually no, that was the right thing. I'm going to just remove these parts from the head that I just added, because those are absolutely unnecessary. So you gotta be careful with your ring and your loops. If they don't actually go where you want them to go, it could lead you down to some trouble. Like that. So there you go. I'll remove that from the face. So I'm just going to have to readjust where some of these things go here. So I'm just going to shift them over. I'm going to go, that one's going to go there. And I'm going to use my target weld to weld that over there. So let's just move along some of these guys. Again, just spreading them out. Right, and this will actually, it's actually worked out nice, because then now my body will have a nice amount of polygons and kind of scale of polygons going across the body. Something like that, just kind of trying to divide them nice and evenly. Alright, I'll turn that off, and then just kind of get this looking how I want it to look. Make sure these edges are flowing nicely. You might have to adjust your head a little bit based on your body. That's totally cool. Alright, here we go. So we've attached them. We have our symmetry on still, so we can put that back on. We'll symmetry the head and the body now. Alright, and I can add a turbo smooth if I like. And look at that. He's looking all nice and shiny. Kind of like a goblin Mr. Clean or something. Now his head looks a little small, but bam, throw a beard on him, and he's starting to look to proportion. So let's just hide those guys there. There we go, we got our naked goblin man. Alright, so yeah, some of the proportions look kind of funky. My wrists are really wide compared to my arms, so I can go through and adjust some of that. I'll show you guys one little tool to help you with this. It's a little dangerous, but you can use it if you will. And that is the shift tool in your freeform graphite tools here. And what this will do is it'll just allow you to push and pull your model, but you can definitely quickly screw things up, so really be careful with it. But it's nice for some minor details. So the problem with it is it will move everything. It won't just move like it'll move your whole model. So I'm adjusting the size of the brush by holding Control and then left clicking up and holding left click and then moving up and down. I'm just going to adjust my stuff to just look a little better. Make my dude a little bigger. You got to be careful with this tool because it can really mess up your model, especially in the low poly. Turn this off, it can really kind of screw up some of your nice flow. So be careful with it. Don't use it, you know, too willy-nilly. Just kind of understand what you're getting yourself into by doing so, and just be careful with it. It's powerful but dangerous. It's like Spider-Man. You have the responsibility to use this for good. With great power comes great responsibility. Sorry, I'm tired. So anyways, there you go. That's your dude there. I know my dude looks a little funky with the big poofy pants, but that's okay. Once we get some more clothing on him, he should start looking a lot better. There we go. So he's okay. His chest is kind of meh, and I'm still not very happy with the arms and the fingers. They're kind of straight, not bent very well. So I could always go through and adjust some of that as well. So just play around with your model. Get him to get him or her to the point where you're happy with your model and you're ready to move on, and all that. So once you're happy with that, we can move on to some accessories and clothing, armor, whatever you happen to have on your character. That'll be our next stage, so to be continued.